daily outlook into Thursday, July 16th. Right, yesterday left a rejection at the highs, right, traded to the new week opening gap and failed. So this, in my opinion, this is a pretty significant rejection block here. Right, overall we said how coming in inside of Wednesday here, there was the potential opportunity to trade an expansion, okay, from 50% towards premium, but price failed again, right? It failed at 50% of the range. It failed at the new week opening gap, um, and then traded back lower inside of the range. So price failing at 50% of the range. I'm now interested again to see how it's going to trade inside discount. Right, so I'm looking at around these price levels. Overall, I mean, this looks good if the weekly profile will be a Wednesday reversal, okay, which could be the case because of the Wednesday classic sell. But it could also be some kind of a seek and destroy, right? A consolidation profile, right around 50% of the range. And if there's going to be an expansion, then what better time to do it after a seek and destroy weekly profile? Okay, either the Friday could start expanding, or Monday you get a new week opening gap when it's one-sided and price keeps expanding from there. Because again, the range is being kept pretty tight here. So the way that this week, right, if this week, I mean, if it is a seek and destroy profile, then that could lead to the opportunity of seeing an expansion weekly profile next week. Okay. Okay, so these price levels, these are all discounted levels. If price is trading inside of them, you want to see how they trade inside of them. In terms of premium levels, I think that this is a pretty significant rejection block. Again, happens from the new week opening gap. It's the current weekly high, right? It swept the high of Monday, traded back lower. Okay, so these should be important to have on the chart on the daily. If we look at at least going inside of tomorrow, of today. The 3-week look back is giving us the same picture, right? Failed to reclaim here the bearish order block located at 50% of the range. Price opened today, came from consolidation preceded by expansion, and so traded higher again, failed at the new week opening gap, and then traded back lower. It's still finding right sensitivity to the discount order block here. Again, and you can see that the 10 a.m. 4-hour candle here is a large range. Okay, so it's going to be very important to see how the high and the low is traded. Okay, if there's this, right, or this, could be the same right into discount, could do something like this, or right, could do something like this. Okay, what I'm more interested in is the 3-day look back here, because yesterday was a classic sell daily profile. Okay, so these profiles tend to leave us key levels inside of the range to right, high probable levels, right, to predict where, well, not to predict, but to project, right, where the daily high and the daily low could form. Well, actually, no. I'm just good. Well, okay. We can look first at the phase of price delivery. We had a classic sell, a bullish swing to Z, right? So yesterday I was saying there's two ways of viewing this. You could either view this as expansion to consolidation, right? So assuming that this is a reversal, or expansion to reaccumulation, right? Which eventually is what ended up happening inside of the range here. Okay, so I'm interested in seeing, right, and yesterday classic sell. So expansion, accumulation, expansion. All right, so I think that price left us some pretty nice levels for tomorrow's, well, for, sorry, not tomorrow, but for tomorrow's New York session, today's daily profile. Left a bearish order block in premium here, right? This order block cuts right about 50% here of the larger order block inside of the range. At 50% left a SIBI. You can see that Asia so far, right, has traded into it, has rejected. And in discount, I mean, I would grade, there's a large rejection block here inside of the range. This came from this fair value gap here, right? We had here a lot of key discount levels identified from yesterday's profile, such as the order block, right, the suspension block, the breaker here. Overall, also a large rejection block at the low, so price was pretty high resistance at these levels. Okay, maybe this is a bit confusing for the moment. For the moment, I'll just be keeping these levels on my chart, and then if I see that a New York price has traded here, or is already trading above it, right? It could be New York could be opening somewhere inside of here. Then in that case, I'll grade these levels. Okay, so we have again rejection block in discount, fair value gap at 50%, and order block at 75%. Maybe we can refine these levels to a 15-minute chart also. Okay, I mean, you could refine this also to a 15-minute chart. You can, if I look at this chart, the first thing I see is that at every quadrant there's a SIBI, right? So you could also be viewing price this way. Right, you can keep these three fair value gaps on your chart and see how price trades into them. Okay, this is another way that you could be viewing a price for today's daily profile, viewed from the fair value gaps, okay, that are cutting through the range here. Okay, so quick recap. Price fell at 50%, fell at the new week opening gap. I'm not interested in seeing how it trades inside discounted levels. If I come inside New York and price hasn't traded at these levels, right, but is already trading in premium, well, then obviously it's going to be important to see where does New York open, right? Does New York open here? Does New York open here? Right, and based on where it opens, what does it do, right? What are the lower time frame profiles? Three-week look back, about the same picture. If price is going to trade lower, I'm interested in seeing how it trades at 50% of the discount to order block. I wouldn't be too interested in trading New York if New York is trading around this range. Ideally, I would like to trade a New York session that either fails right above range high, range low, right, something like this or something like this. Or if not, I would prefer trading one that, say, has either a balanced price range through the high or some kind of fair value gap through the high, right? But what I don't want to be doing is, while it's at 50% of this range, to try and guess where it's going to go, at least from the perspective of a daily profile. Now, these levels on the lower time frame, here we're looking at this from a 4-hour, but say from an Asia session profile, right, there's obviously trading opportunities in here. Okay, and in terms of the range, we saw the phase of price delivery. Price comes from expansion, consolidation, expansion. Overall, it found a rejection right at the, well, not in the closure, but inside the PM session, right? So going inside of the closure, inside, right, what's located at the range low here. Overall, right, this is the range that we're trading. We're trading these lows, we're trading these highs. Right, and price failed in discount yesterday and came back to 50%, right? And now today opened around 50% of that range. If price will trade above this fair value gap, there's obviously here an order block located in premium, so it will be important. Say New York opens inside of this range, that can be a reason to anticipate a New York consolidation or a New York retracement. Obviously, all depending on the scenario, right? But you can get a scenario like this, the New York reversal from the order block, right? That would be overall, say, an OTE retracement, and New York creates the reversal, right? That's a good scenario for a New York reversal. But obviously, there's many scenarios possible, right? Again, it's just important to see where price comes from going inside of New York, right? Did it come from discount? Did it come from 50%? Did it come from premium? And then seeing, right, the reaction around these levels coming inside of New York. Try to get a perspective of what the drawn liquidity is, what the order flow is looking like, which side of the market do I want to be trading, and then you wait on the lower time frames for price to retrace inside of these levels, reaccumulate, and distribute out of it. Okay, so I think that covers it. So good luck and good trading.